How far Pervez Musharraf has fallen, locked up behind razor wire at his own country farm just on the outskirts of Islamabad. And it was just a little over a week ago that I came here to visit him. Back then, the legal moves against him were already getting quite serious. It's a sprawling estate in one of Pakistan's most sought-after neighborhoods. And he's just learned that the Supreme Court is barring him from international travel. Good morning. How are you? Very good, thank you very much. Back then, he told me, he didn't expect to be arrested, but admitted he could already see lawyers gunning for him.
I think they may be scared that I may be able to bring about a change, so they want me to be restrained. And then their animosity against me also. So I need a level playing field, which frankly is being denied.
How long Musharraf will remain under house arrest is hard to calculate, but what is becoming clear is the depth of dislike many now in power feel towards the former military ruler. Nick Robertson, CNN, just outside Islamabad, Pakistan.
We now take our second break. Sports is next. Time now for sports with my colleague Fadjasi.
Thank you very much, Abubakar. 12 Formula One teams and 24 drivers are preparing to go racing again in Bahrain this weekend, but the event is playing out against the backdrop of protests and civil unrest. An ITV news crew was deported from the Gulf Kingdom, and once again political unrest there threatens to overshadow the race. CNN's Fred Pleton has more.
Formula One race on the impressive international circuit in the middle of the desert. But not everyone supports the F1 coming to town. In this village outside the capital Manama, protesters are calling for the event to be cancelled, saying the rulers of the tiny kingdom are guilty of human rights abuses. The media doesn't cover the demonstrations like this revolution that is part of the Arab Spring, this activist says. This is why we tell them, come over to the Formula One race and come see the women and the men marching in the streets demanding democracy for 2 years now, while the Prime Minister keeps insisting that he doesn't know if there is any demonstration in the country. There are demonstrations indeed, every day, every village demanding democracy and human rights. Clashes broke out ahead of last year's Formula One race. This year, Human Rights Watch has accused the government of a campaign of arbitrary arrests and detentions ahead of the F1 in a bid to silence the opposition. The government denies the claims and also tells CNN the race will bring benefits many Bahrainis seek. The government is pleased that the F1 will boost the economy and tourism, and it will also provide Bahrainis with more job opportunities. The CEO of Bahrain's international circuit says he believes more than 70% of the population supports the race. The head of Formula One, Bernie Eccleston, has voiced sympathy for the protests, but the race is still scheduled to move forward. Many issues in the kingdom remain unresolved after an uprising in 2011 where the majority Shiite population demanded more rights from the rulers who belong to the minority Sunni sect. Those protests were violently crushed by Bahrain's security forces, with troops from Saudi Arabia coming into the country to support the government. In the aftermath of the protests, the government promised reforms, including a special unit set up to investigate claims of rights abuses. But critics say little has changed, so the opposition continues to battle, recently staging a drum march through villages outside the capital Manama, with a clear message to those in charge of Formula One. Don't come here under the current circumstances. Fred Pleton, CNN, Berlin.
Well, Abubakar, that's all in sports. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Fadjasi. And before we go, a reminder of our headlines once again. Canada-based management holding Limited has handed over to government the first sample of houses constructed for low, middle and high-income earners in the civil service. Vegetable growers in parts of rural Gambia are expecting to increase production in the wake of massive support from the West Africa Agriculture Productivity Project. U.S. police have nabbed the second suspect in the Boston Marathon bombings following a near 24-hour lockdown and manhunt in Watertown. And former Pakistani military strongman Pervez Musharraf has escaped to his sprawling mansion outside Islamabad after a court orders his arrest and detention. That brings us to the end of this edition of the news. Thanks for the pleasure of your company. Stay tuned and enjoy GRTS.
Africa belebe no mala.
Good evening and it's a warm welcome to another edition of the National Bantaba Forum, and I am Tijan Jane. Well, this particular edition, my guests are no other than members of the Gambia Scout Association. In just a moment, they will be talking about scouting, some of the things that they do as a scout, their role, you know, at the household level, at the community level, and the list goes on. In order not to bore you, let me just begin by introducing my panelists by the name Pa Omar Bojang. Pa Omar Bojang is the Chief Commissioner, and yeah. Thank you very much. And I have Honorable Sidin Jai, who is now a familiar face on the Bantaba Forum. And I also have Usman Y. Jata, International Commissioner. Gentlemen, welcome. And we have another host of members of the Gambia Scout Association, people who are really, really doing everything possible to make scouting a reality. And Mr. Pa Omar?
Yeah, and thank you very much for hosting us here. In this cartoon way, before we start anything, we first start with, we renew our scout promise. Then silence prayers, then we go ahead with our program. Okay. So scouts, rise up!
Today we are all scouts, let's rise up.
Our promise. After 3. 1, 2, 3. On my honor, I promise that I'll do my best to do my duty to God and to my country, to help other people and to others, and to get the Scout law. Scout motto?
To be prepared.
Slogan?
To do a good turn daily.
Answer. So this is why we are here, to do good turn to the people. So it shouldn't be